Let me invite everyone to be seated. Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, June 5th, 2025. It's now 9:06, and we are going to call the meeting to order. Commission Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Erdman,
Here.
Commissioner Boatwright,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Hegeman,
Here.
Commissioner Slay,
Here.
Commissioner Baker.
Here.
All present.
Okay, well, as we move forward with our business today, I have a friendly reminder for all that are live streaming our open meeting for public view from their home or office. If you are speaking here in the room today, please make sure you speak into the microphone and that the microphone is on so viewers may hear what's being said. For the viewers who are watching online, we encourage you to subscribe to MoDOT's YouTube channel at MoDOT Video for access to these meetings and much more. We are going to start our meeting this morning with a safety brief. David Taylor, District Safety and Health Manager in Safety and Emergency Management, is going to share with us what we need to do in case of an emergency. David?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Director. For a safety briefing this morning, if we have a medical emergency or a fire, our area engineer, Emily Edgar, will be the one responsible for calling 911. She's in the back. Her backup would be Jeff Niemeyer, also an area engineer for the Northeast District. As far as if we had a fire, we've got an exit here. Both of these will go downstairs, and we will meet as a group out by the fountain on this far end of the building. You might look to see who's to your left and right again, so we can keep track of them in case somebody does not make it out to that meeting location. There's also fire extinguishers actually outside both of these exit doors right in the hallway. As far as for a medical emergency, if someone needs if we need an AED or CPR completed, I will take care of that. Becky Omeroff will be my backup in case I'm not able to. There is no severe weather that's predicted for today, but if something changed, 2 levels down, we'll go to the basement level. There are bathrooms right there in the hallway. There's one bathroom. If those are full, there's also a hallway that I can take others to if we have overflow. Other than that, that is all I've got for safety briefing this morning.
Thank you, and given that it's severe weather season, we all appreciate your thoughts on that. Everyone in the room is special, but let me take a moment to recognize a few of our special guests who are elected officials. We're representing elected officials. I'd like to recognize from Senator Cindy O'Loughlin's office, Lois Bragg, the in-district legislative assistant. Lois, thank you for joining us this morning. State Representative Kent Hayden and State Representative Greg Sharp. Appreciate you all joining. Why don't you stand up and be seen? Here we go. Appreciate you joining us this morning. From Congressman Sam Graves' office, Sarah Graff. Sarah? And then we have some county officials joining us today. From Knox County, Presiding Commissioner Les Cardwell. From the Presiding County Commission, John Lake. Rawls County Western District Commissioner, John Wizorik. And finally, Lacey Miller, Marion County Western District Commissioner. Oh, and Alan Winders, Adrian County Presiding Commissioner. If you're here, stand up, and thank you all for being here. Next, I need to review some procedural items for members of the commission. I want to remind everyone that we do have a public comment period, and we're pleased to offer this to every Missourian who wants to come before the commission to address an issue of concern. Any of you who would like to address the commission, please sign up before 9:30. A reminder that you will have 5 minutes for public comment or 10 minutes per subject. Next, I'd like to remind commissioners on abstentions. There are commissioners that because of land ownership or business interests or lawyers who may represent clients that may either have some relationship to a matter coming before the commission and have a potential or actual conflict of interest to be considered or voted upon. The commission member will indicate if he or she chooses to abstain from voting or to recuse himself or herself from participating in discussion of an agenda item. If an agenda item is divisible by contract, call, project, or the like, a commissioner may specify that the particular matter and then still vote on the remainder of the agenda item. This information is provided to the commission secretary by letter in advance of the meeting, and the commission secretary will duly indicate the abstention or recusal according to the minutes of the meeting. Madam Secretary, have the necessary letters been prepared? Okay, thank you very much. Next, we will consider an action item, which is consideration of the minutes from the regular meeting on May 7th and the special meeting of May 6th. Do we have any additions or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion for approval and second?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed will say nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. The next action item is consent of items that are in our consent agenda. Does anyone have need to remove any item for discussion later or to abstain from an item? Do we have a motion to approve or second the approval for the consent items?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda will say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, and the consent agenda is approved. Next, we'll move into some non-action items, committee, boards, and reports. Where our first order of business will be the audit committee. And today, Commissioner Boatwright is giving the audit committee report. Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Slay.
Yes, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. The audit committee met yesterday. We met with Ted Williamson, our external auditor from Reuben Brown LLP for the fiscal year 2025 financial statement audit. The audit is required annually per section 21.795.3 RSMO. That section requires an annual audit of MoDOT's financial statements to be conducted by an independent certified public accountant. Audited financial statements are also required by the Commission's bond covenants. We reviewed and approved the fiscal year 2026 internal audit plan, which identifies the audits the internal audit staff will be working on during the next fiscal year. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Slay. All commissioners are members of the Legislative Committee, and the Commission's chair and vice chair serve as co-chairs of the Legislative Committee. Today, Vice Chairman Boatwright will give the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since the last report, the General Assembly passed the fiscal year 2026 state operating budget totaling $53.5 billion. MoDOT's budget requests were included. However, the General Assembly elected to only authorize appropriations for about 9 months of the fiscal year. This will require the department to seek supplemental appropriations at the beginning of the legislative session. Additionally, many of the legislative designated projects were added for 2026, including $20 million for low volume roads, which we heard a lot about earlier this morning, and also some projects that were carried over from fiscal year 2025. The governor can veto any lines in the budget as he sees fit. Nothing in the budget is final until it receives his signature by the end of June. The 2025 session of the Missouri General Assembly came to an abrupt end before the constitutional deadline of Friday, May 16th at 6 p.m. The rundown of that, the Senate Republicans employed the rarely used PQ previous question motion on Wednesday, May 14th to cut off debate and force votes on two key pieces of legislation, abortion and sick leave. The use of the motion effectively ended the session as Democrats accusing Republicans of destroying the goodwill in the body and vowed to make the next session difficult in response. With the Senate adjourned on May 14th, the House was left to pass Senate bills with no changes, as any changes made in the House would have needed to go back to the Senate for approval. The House worked its way through the remainder of the calendar before adjourning a day early on Thursday afternoon, May the 15th. This year, there were 49 House and Senate bills that were truly agreed and finally passed, excluding the budget bills. Several have impact to MoDOT's operations, and staff are preparing to implement those changes. Lastly, none of the proposals from this year's legislative agenda regarding safety and litter made it all the way through the process. Numerous proposals filed this session could have negatively impacted MoDOT's funding and operations. None of the problematic proposals passed at the end of the session due to the hard work from our transportation partners, Team MoDOT, and the commission due to the work next door. Governor Mike Kehoe has until July 18th to act on all legislation, which will go into effect on August the 28th when signed unless otherwise specified. On May 27th, the governor called for a special session to address 3 items. 1, provide additional resources to families affected by the recent severe storms throughout Missouri. 2, drive economic development through a tax incentive program. And 3, make critical budget appropriations that will impact Missourians across the state. This special session began on June the 2nd with the Senate starting up the process. Following the special session, the General Assembly will reconvene on September the 10th to consider any vetoes that might be issued by Governor Kehoe. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dustin. And just let me say that we had a challenging legislative session, but as always, we're very grateful to members of the General Assembly who serve the public. We appreciate the strong partnership. The partnership we have with them has mostly made possible many of the things that we're doing. And for that, we are very grateful for their leadership. And thanks to those members who are here with us today. Moving on, Commissioner Smith serves as president of the MTFC, and myself and Commissioner Baker are board members. Commissioner Smith will provide the report for today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is no report this month. Our next meeting will be in August. So thank you. Hope we'll have a report then.
Very good, and thank you for the report. Commissioners Boatright, Hegeman, and I serve on the Emperor's Board today. Commissioner Hegeman will provide that report.
You bet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there is no report for this month. Our next scheduled meeting is June 20th, 2025, so later this month.
Well, we'll look forward to it.
You bet.
Okay. Commissioner Boatright will give the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety Executive Committee report today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As of Friday, May the 30th, there have been 323 people killed in Missouri traffic crashes so far in 2025. Comparing this to last year, this is 4 fewer fatalities for an overall 1% decrease. Over the Memorial Day weekend, there were 3 traffic fatalities compared to 10 in 2024. Overall, traffic fatalities in May were up slightly compared to 2024. Coalition partners are currently in the process of updating Missouri's strategic highway safety plan, Show Me Zero. This plan provides a comprehensive list of solutions and opportunities for all Missourians to improve traffic safety throughout the state. A draft version of the plan will be available for comment soon. The final version will be released at this year's Highway Safety and Traffic Conference in September. The Coalition's Executive Committee will meet again on June 16th, where we look forward to welcoming new committee members and discussing additional opportunities to improve safety in Missouri. With that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Well, thank you. As we discussed in our coffee, highway safety remains a top priority for the commission and the department. Missouri has far too many fatalities every year from highway safety accidents, and we will be coming to the General Assembly once again with some suggestions for how to lower those unacceptable highway fatalities. That concludes the committee reports for this morning. So with that, the next item on the agenda is the director's report. So I want to recognize Director Ed Hassinger for his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start today with just a brief update on a few of our team members that were badly injured a couple of weeks ago. 3 of our Southeast District traffic signal and lighting team members were injured, 2 of them seriously while working on restoring storm damage around Jackson. We're looking into the details of the incident, but I'm happy to report that those employees are making great progress in their recovery, and their families are supporting them. I was in St. Louis on Monday. They're in the Mercy Burn Unit and was able to talk with our employees and their families, and they're providing them excellent care, and our team is providing their families with the support that they need, but we need to keep them in our thoughts. We've sent safety follow-up guidance to our entire team and shared our support resources with those impacted, and we want to make sure we avoid any situation like this in the future, but it was a scary day, and those employees are kind of battling to recover, and we just need to make sure we support them in that effort. So it just shows you what can happen when our team's on the ground and trying to recover from these storms we've had all over the state. I wanted to kind of follow up a little bit on the legislative session. You know, the legislative session wrapped a few weeks ago. Later in the meeting, Brenda's going to give you a presentation on the budget, which will be the budget going forward starting in July of this year. But what I really wanted to stress was the extraordinary effort that was put forth by our governmental relations team, Pam and her team, and our entire team across the state over the last few months have really worked hard to build those relationships, to respond to those constituent issues that come to us through our legislative body. And then as we navigated this session, as the chairman mentioned and the vice chairman talked about, we had some challenging things to deal with. We worked hard to educate the members of the General Assembly and to talk through those issues to see if we could build consensus. And I will also say that I have never in my history seen a commission that was more engaged with the legislature in spending time both in the building during the session and like you saw this morning with our coffee with the commission for our legislators across the state. And that really matters. We're also working really hard on the relationship at the local level. And one of the things that really made me feel good is when I was talking with legislators in the building, I would always ask them tell me about what are the local issues you're dealing with. And I think almost every time I had that conversation, they said, well, you know, I'm pretty well informed by my area engineer. And they know who their area engineers are. And that's kind of the point is our area engineers are on the ground. They know what's going on in local communities, and they're there to respond to the issues that come up. So I think in the room today from this area, I saw Emily and Jeff earlier, right? Those in the back. They're a great example of our great area engineers across the state that work on those local relationships. And so we want to continue that relationship, and we look forward to waiting for the governor's decision on some of those critical items, and the budget being probably the most critical for us. And then we'll work throughout the year and be ready for submitting a supplemental budget request when the legislature comes back into session next year. And I think in the meantime, I take the advice of the vice chairman, who always says what we need to do is execute the plan. And so our team will be working with our legislative delegation to execute the plan. One of the things that the commission and I decided early on was that we needed to have a director's advisory committee to help me stay in touch with what's going on. We impaneled that very shortly after the beginning of the year. We had our second meeting last week. And of course, the advisory committee is made up of some elected officials, both local and state, some of our industry partners across the entire state that do our work, people from the business community, the folks that are engaged in transportation across the state. And I just wanted to report we had a good meeting last week. We talked about the value of the local planning process. We recapped the legislative session and some of those challenges and what some of the impacts might be. And then we also had a conversation about the public input that we are seeking right now for three things, or really four things. The 5-year statewide transportation improvement program is on the street for comment. The commission approved the draft. We're asking for comment on that. Also, we are working on the statewide long-range plan. This is our big picture view of what we need to be doing, looking out 20 plus years. And in conjunction with that, we're also doing the state freight and rail plan. Freight is such a huge advantage we have in Missouri, and we need to figure out how to make sure we take full advantage of that. So both of those plans are being developed as we speak, and we're actually in the public comment phase of those plans. And then we're also working on our strategic highway safety plan. So all four of those things are really critical things that guide what we do as a department. And we really want the public's input. And certainly I asked the advisory committee to make sure that they provided their input as we go through that process. So very positive meeting. On the long-range transportation plan and state freight plan, we actually have a virtual room that has been put in place so that people can go and figure out how to navigate that. And we will be hosting also in-person meetings going forward to look at that. So not only do you have the opportunity to comment virtually, but also we will have opportunities to comment on that with our planning partners and with the general public going forward. A couple more things. At MoDOT, we have a process we use to make sure we have accountability called the tracker. And really that's a performance-based plan that we use to make sure that we're performing. We've been doing that now for 20 years. We celebrated at our meeting last month, 20 years of doing performance-based accountability on everything that we do. So this marks the 20th year of using the tracker as our performance measurement tool. It holds us accountable, and it holds us accountable to the citizens we serve. And I think it's been really a great tool for us to get better as an organization. It really drives our critical decisions as we make them. It certainly gives our team some level of feedback on accountability and what they need to be doing. And really, I'd say MoDOT is probably the leader in performance management of an organization. We're one of the few DOTs that actually does this, and we put it out there publicly facing. So if you want to know the performance of the organization in some way more detail than most people are interested in, we put that on our website so you can see the good and the bad and the ugly. And that's what we use to try to make sure that we get better. So I wanted to play a video, right? We have a video of the tracker here, and I wanted to play that for you real quickly. Hello, I'm MoDOT Director Ed Hassinger. You know, it's hard to believe that Tracker is celebrating its 20th anniversary. In January of 2005, we began using a performance management approach to improve our organization. For 2 decades, Tracker has measured how well we deliver products and services and has established us as a national leader in performance management. Initially, Tracker included 18 tangible results and over 121 measures in a 160-page document. Over time, it has evolved to align with our strategic goals of safety, service, and stability, focusing on 7 tangible results with 47 measures.
This data-driven approach has produced remarkable results. Major highways in good condition increased from 60% in 2005 to 90% in 2023. Annual roadway fatalities decreased by 22% from 1,232 in 2005 to 991 in 2023. In 2005, we lacked the tools to analyze why fatalities occurred. Today, crash data helps us identify and address the behaviors and factors causing fatalities, enabling informed decisions that improve roadway safety. Tracker also assesses district and division performance, providing valuable insights for daily operations. District trackers highlight areas for improvement and foster innovative solutions, while division-level trackers focus on achieving specific operational goals. By using Tracker to gauge performance, we align daily decisions with our vision for Missouri's transportation future. Transparency and accountability remain at the heart of this effort, ensuring we deliver for the citizens and taxpayers of Missouri. 5 years ago, Tracker transitioned into an online interactive tool accessible on any device. This innovation enhanced accessibility, transparency, and customer engagement while reducing costs. For 20 years, MoDOT has led the way in performance management, measuring how well we provide safety, service, and stability to our customers. Tracker's quarterly updates and meetings have kept our focus on measurable progress. Initially, the Tracker publication faced challenges like slow production, high costs, and limited customer engagement. To better connect with customers, we modernized Tracker into a web-based, interactive platform. With over half of MoDOT's web users accessing content via mobile devices, the new format ensures accessibility for all. The online Tracker features 47 performance measures and eliminates the need for printed books. Interactive charts allow users to quickly reference data with color-coded indicators, providing at-a-glance insights into progress and areas needing improvement. This transformation saves time and money, improves transparency, and strengthens customer service by reaching more users than ever before.
As Missouri's transportation experts and stewards, we rely on Tracker to demonstrate accountability and progress. Tracker has enabled us to publish tools like the annual results document and the Citizens Guide to Transportation Funding. Tracker not only documents our performance, but also drives innovation. By reviewing performance data, every MoDOT employee seeks new ways to improve, whether it's enhancing safety, saving lives, or making jobs better. As we embark on our largest road and bridge program in history, Tracker will remain vital in keeping us focused and accountable to Missouri's taxpayers. So this has been a journey we've been on for a couple of decades, but it has been really pivotal in us being one of the highest performing DOTs in the country. And it's, you perform on what you track. And so this has been pivotal in that. Just a couple more things that I wanted to highlight today. I know he won't talk about it because he's way too humble. But, when you watch TV, sometimes on the news, they have the almanac and what happened 20 years ago and what happened in the 1700s. And this didn't happen in the 1700s, but today, on this very day, 12 years ago, in Kirksville, Greg Smith was appointed to the Highway Commission and sworn in on this very campus. So 12 years ago in Kirksville, Greg Smith became a highway commissioner. And here we are 12 years later in Kirksville on this very day, the 12th anniversary of his swearing in. And I call him the longest serving commissioner in the modern era. But 12 years is a huge commitment of public service. So I think just recognizing Greg on his 12th anniversary is highly.
Thank you, Ed. And it has went fast, I can tell you that. So thank you very much.
And then lastly, it's my pleasure. We want to introduce our newest member of our senior management team. And I'd ask Eric Schrader, our Deputy Director and Chief Engineer, to come up and do those honors.
Thank you, Director. Yeah, I'm really pleased this morning to be able to introduce our new leader for the Northeast District. It's Kevin James. Kevin's been with the department almost 29 years, and all of his service has been in the Northeast. He's a native son to here, a fellow MU Tiger and professional engineer. So we're really excited to have Kevin step up to this new role, leading the Northeast District. So join me in congratulating Kevin.
Thank you, Eric. It's really a great opportunity. You know, when I went through the process to compete for this job, I was really honored to be considered. Replacing our previous district engineer, Paula, is going to be a great opportunity. She did a lot of great things for the region. It's really going to be great to carry some of those things forward. And as we talk, we have a lot of great opportunities in the near future with transportation, but it's also comes with challenges as we talk about keeping our system in good condition and ensuring our employees go home safe every day. So I look forward to working with the rest of the staff in our district, which we have a great team, as well as my counterparts around the state. So thank you very much for the selection and appreciate your confidence.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Well, thank you, Ed, and on behalf of my colleagues on the commission, congratulations, Kevin. Thank you for stepping up. We really appreciate it when our teammates step up and take on additional responsibilities, so our gratitude goes out to you, and we're counting on you to do a good job. Ed, I want to thank you for your report. The tracker system is a vitally important part of our professional accountability. We have a lot of taxpayers in the room today, and I think one thing they all would agree on is we want to hold public officials accountable for their progress. The tracker system allows us to professionally track that progress. You can rest assured that it is a vitally important tool that the staff and the commission use to make sure that expenditure of tax dollars is done and is accountable to the public. Also, this is the first session that Ed has served as director. And I don't want to let the moment go by without sharing to the public how important his approach to this job was in dealing with the legislature. Ed brings a very mature approach. It's often that we will talk about our successes, but Ed is willing to acknowledge shortcomings. And I think that is well worth mentioning, because if you're willing to acknowledge your shortcomings, why then you're willing to fix them. And for that, we are very grateful to you, and it is a big part of why we had, in a challenging session, a successful session, and thanks for your leadership. Once the General Assembly adjourns, we take our commission meetings on the road to allow people around the state to share their thoughts and concerns. A primary purpose of going on this roadshow is to allow communities to present to the commission their priorities and their projects and their concerns, and so we will commence with that at this time. Next item on the agenda is a public presentation from the city of Kirksville. Northeast Assistant District Engineer Kevin James, will you please come forward and introduce our speakers?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
District
Chairman.
Engineer.
Commissioners.
I got to strike through that.
Yeah, I've got a lot of those corrections. I got a presentation I got to give later. I got to correct that now as well. It's my pleasure to introduce Adam Dorrell from the city of Kirksville. Adam is from Northeast Missouri. He's been a great partner with us. He's been in Kirksville over 20 years, been with the city for several years, and he's going to give an update on some partnering we've done with the city, as well as some other needs that still are unfunded. So I'll turn it over to Adam for his presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners and Director. Welcome to Kirksville. We appreciate you all coming up here and making the trip. So we're always excited to show off our city and kind of the good things we've got going on here. And hopefully you've had a chance to see some of that, as well as maybe some of the challenges that we're currently working through. So MoDOT, is this the right one? MoDOT and the city of Kirksville, we've got a long history of working together. In fact, Franklin Street right out here in front of the building was once a state highway. We took that over through a jurisdictional transfer decades ago, but I will say as Public Works Director, I appreciate the 80-foot right-of-way that we've got along that road that we don't have anywhere else in town. So that's served us well for some of our utilities. You can see we've done some beautification projects on that. It's a main entrance into Truman's campus, as well as our downtown. So we're pretty proud of Franklin Street. We have a Veterans Memorial as well as a dedicated dog park that were once MoDOT roadside parks. Those were transferred over to the city. We've maintained those. We've done good things with those, and we really appreciate those as well for the city. In 2004, some dedicated Kirksville citizens, as well as MoDOT and city officials and state legislators, quite literally rewrote the book on funding of large roadway projects. Through a partnership between the city of Kirksville and MoDOT, work was done to expand Highway 63 between Macon and Kirksville from a 2-lane highway to a 4-lane divided highway. That took legislative approval. It took a lot of other things. One thing it also took was a tax increase that the citizens of Kirksville voted upon themselves to share in the cost for that project. So that shows the dedications of the city of Kirksville in recognizing those needs, and that we really wanted to get that done. That roadway improved not just Kirksville, but really all of the region. It opened it up with 4-lane highway, made it easier to get here. I don't know that we would have the industrial growth, the commercial growth that we've got in our city as well as the region without that 4-lane highway. That's not to mention the safety aspects of it as well. That highway was traveled by a lot of students coming up here to Truman State as well as other places in the region. There's really no way to quantify it, but there are certainly lives have been saved by expanding that roadway. In 2008, Kirksville citizens again voted a tax increase on themselves to pay for what was at that time called alternate Route 63. It's now Highway 63, and old 63 is Business 63, so there's been some name changes there. That was also a very much needed project for our area. It's easy to forget now, but the traffic congestion that was on Baltimore or Business 63 with the truck traffic and the people passing through certain times a day, especially when schools were in session, it could take 17 to 20 minutes to get from the north end of town to the south end of town. So it's easy for us to forget that now, though MoDOT last summer closed the Highway 63 for some bridge maintenance. So we were able to relive that again. It was a good reminder for those of us that have been here the entire time what it was like before then. It was also a good eye opener for folks that have come to Kirksville since then to really see what that was like and let them appreciate a little more what we gained by having that route put out there. In 2022, through the governor's cost share program, we were able to expand north Business 63 or Baltimore Street. That area had seen some rapid commercial development, lots of businesses, retail, restaurants, other service industries up there, and the 2-lane highway wasn't serving the needs. Left turn from into businesses were really causing congestion, slowing down traffic. We were seeing an increase in accidents. So through that project and with this MoDOT and the city of Kirksville, we collaborated on design and on funding for that project. And we were able to get that completed in 2023, expanding that with the center turn lane as well as some other improvements, shoulder improvements, some intersection improvements. So that really has helped that area. It's really made those businesses more accessible, and it's definitely improved the safety of that. So we appreciate that project as well. I'm way behind on my slides, I'm sorry. Not as bad as I thought. So our history of working together is not just roadway projects. We also have a regional airport that we work with MoDOT on regularly. Recently, we've had some pavement striping projects as well as some concrete replacement and repairs. Our biggest project, though, right now is a new terminal building that's funded through state and federal funding, as well as some local match. That started construction just within the last 30 days. We're very excited for that. Our terminal building was built in the 70s. With all of the new safety aspects, it really wasn't serving our need. We have commercial traffic coming in and out of Kirksville a couple of times every day to Chicago. So the size was too small. The facilities just didn't really meet current needs. So this new terminal building, it's going to be great for the traveling public. It's also going to be a great first impression for people when they get to Kirksville. They're flying in here for the first time to really see the city before they actually get to the city. So we're very excited about that project. Should be done at some point next year. I believe it's about a year-long project. We definitely also don't want to minimize the many projects that are not roadway or airport related. We've made great use of the MoDOT's TEAP and TAP programs over the years, the Transportation Engineering Assistance, as well as the Transportation Alternatives Program. We have a number of those projects open right now that we're currently working on. We've completed numerous projects, ADA improvements, sidewalks, trails. We have a project in design right now that's converting old Burlington Northern Railway to a trail project that's going to connect some areas of town with a pedestrian or multi-use trail that'll be be great for those neighborhoods and just great for recreation as well as transportation. We have another project going on right now with 19 crosswalks that we're looking at, mostly centered around Truman State University, as well as our public school with a couple around a couple other area schools. We're making ADA improvements, looking at signals, signage, things like that. We're going to be putting in some rapid flashing beacons at those as well. So we're excited about those. We have a lot of students here. We have a lot of people that walk, especially in this area and around our school. These are some much needed improvements, ADA especially, with some needed improvements. We have some that were just straight curb drop off. So we're going to get good ADA ramps and meet all of the current ADA standards. So I know, I think this bit of history shows that Kirksville, we enjoy partnerships. We enjoy partnering with MoDOT. We've enjoyed our history with MoDOT. We don't just come to MoDOT and say, hey, we've got a problem. Can you please take care of it? We come ready to work, ready to partner, ready to work together. To that end, we do have another need with the city of Kirksville that I want to talk about a little bit. This calls it the alternate route, but really Highway 63 is what we want to talk about. In 2023, the city was able to get a grant for a Safe Streets for All grant for a road safety audit for Highway 63. It was focused primarily on intersections along Highway 63 that were within the city limits. We partnered with the Nemo Regional Planning Commission and hired McClure Engineering to perform that study. As part of that study, we had city officials, MoDOT officials, representatives from the Missouri State Highway Patrol, local McClure folks, as well as national experts that they brought in to help us analyze the road safety along that section. There were a lot of findings with that, but really the two intersections that stood out were Highway 11 and Highway 6. Those two intersections had between 2019 and 2023, 44 total crashes, including 6 serious injury and 1 fatality. That's 1 crash every 6 weeks at one of those two intersections. That doesn't seem like necessarily a lot when you look at urban areas and things like that, but we're a rural community. Our traffic counts are much lower. You don't have to have too many degrees of separation for somebody in Kirksville to know someone that was directly impacted by an accident. I know I have one friend that was in a serious injury accident there. My kids have got friends that have been in less serious accidents there, but still in accidents. I know people that have witnessed accidents there. So it's directly impacting our community, those accidents. It's impacting people's ability to travel, people's perception of those as well. Those two intersections alone account for just under 10% of the serious injury accidents in all of Adair County. If you remove the serious injury accidents that are single vehicle and just look at ones that are multi-vehicle accidents, that number goes up significantly. We're probably closer to 20% of the serious injury accidents that involve multiple vehicles at those two intersections. Our community has expressed its support for these improvements and addressing these two intersections through feedback on your high priority unfunded needs list. That was during the public comment period of that. I believe the city of Kirksville had a good showing in the public comment period for that, and we appreciate that. The project's currently listed in tiers 1 and 2 on that list. Recently, with the support of MoDOT, we did apply for a federal raise grant for that. We were ultimately unsuccessful, but we learned a lot through that process. I hadn't been through the application process for a raise grant before. We knew it was kind of a long shot when we applied, but we wanted to kind of get that process started and get our name there. We did participate in feedback. U.S. Department of Transportation provides feedback on that, so we participated in those meetings. We learned a little bit more about how they score those projects, how they rank those projects, and how we can do better if we decide to pursue that funding again. So we're hopeful that that's something that we may be able to look at. So I'm sure I'm running out of time, or maybe over it already. So I'll end with this. We've got a long history of cooperation with MoDOT, collaboration, cooperation. We really do come to projects ready to roll up our sleeves and get to work, and we're ready to do that again with this project. So we enjoy big projects like this. We enjoy collaboration. They're good for our community. They're good for the traveling public, not just in Kirksville, but also, we look at everything as Northeast region. So we're ready to go again. I think we've proven many times over that when we do collaborate, we do get good things done. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I also want to congratulate Kevin. In my short time with the city, I've had the opportunity to meet with him several times, and looking forward to working with him more in the future.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate your good words today, but we're going to take a little more time and offer some questions. But before we do so, I think Commissioner Boatright, do you have any?
Yeah, so, thank you,
Mhm.
number one, appreciate it. It's never comfortable for an engineer to get up and talk. I'm very uncomfortable. sitting
I'm more of
here
a
talking
khakis
right
and
now.
polo engineer, not a suit and tie engineer, so.
Nerdy engineer.
So, one question I have, you mentioned it is well known throughout the state, that original partnership that occurred, and that, was it a TDD that it was funded through, or what was the?
That was before my time, even in Kirksville,
Yeah,
so.
so, that model though, of the local communities putting in for projects to bump them up the list and to get them going, I mean, huge deal. We see this throughout the state, and Kirksville certainly planted that seed many, many years ago. On these two projects that are on the unfunded needs list, has there been any thought to trying to cost share those to up the timeline, or?
I think at this point, those projects are still in development. I don't know that there are plans in place to really know what improvements that we're looking at in the future. The RSA did identify some short-term improvements that could be made, some long-term improvements, whether they're roundabouts or full grade change intersections. So yeah, we are ready to participate, but I don't know that those plans are far enough along at this point.
Just keep that in the back of your mind. We do have cost share money available, and this commission really wants to put that money on the ground as quick as we can. So if that's something that would interest the city, certainly something to look at and consider on projects like these to get them on the ground.
Love to get together and talk about that more.
So thank you again for your time and for the presentation.
All right, thank you.
Adam, what's the enrollment at Truman State?
Last numbers that I saw were around 5,000 students, I think. I'm not necessarily the expert on that. Somebody else in the audience might know that better.
Thank you.
Other commission comment? Anne Marie, anybody? Ed, you have any comment?
Well, I'll just say, to echo what Commissioner Boatright said, the cradle of the cost share program is right here in Kirksville, and some really forward-thinking leaders, Ms. Beard and Dr. Magruder were kind of the people that started that, and it's evolved into something we've used across the entire state many times to do way more transportation than we could do by ourselves. So, this community has stepped up in the past. I would tell you that on my way up, I drove the alternate and I drove Baltimore Street. Baltimore Street looks really good.
Yeah, that was a good project.
Very good. Well, thank you for your
All right.
time
Thank
today,
you.
and really important projects for Missouri. We're very grateful for your leadership up here in the north. So,
All right, appreciate it. And again, thanks for making the trip up to Kirksville.
thank you. All right, Kevin.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director. It's my pleasure now to introduce Maria Coons. She's the Executive Director of the Hannibal Regional Economic Development Council and the Marion Rawls Regional Port Authority. HRDC is a very important agency that provides economic development services throughout the two counties, and they played a key role in bringing together local municipalities and stakeholders to prioritize transportation and infrastructure goals for the Hannibal region. So I'll turn it over to Maria.
I'm a little shorter than Kevin, so. Well, thank you all for your time. I am here today to talk about Highway 61 in Marion and Rawls counties, largely the expressway, but some other things as well. Before I get started, I do want to just introduce the delegation that we brought with us today. Some of them have already been introduced, but we'll do it again. We have John Lake and John Razorek from Rawls County Commission, Lacey Miller from Marion County Commission, Scott Haycraft from Hannibal City Council, Hal Benedict, HREDC President, Michael Pearl and Michael Riesenbeck, who are the co-chairs of our Transportation Committee. Also want to give a shout out to Kevin, Emily, and I think I saw Jared, who also have participated in our Transportation Committee and been very active in collaborating with us on this project. Okay, so I believe everyone, since you're up here in Northeast Missouri, is familiar with with US 61, affectionately referred to as the Avenue of the Saints, running from St. Louis to St. Paul. We in Hannibal are a key corridor. 61 intersects I-72, Highway 36 in Hannibal. And as the city has grown, we've seen more and more traffic along that corridor throughout the city limits and above and below it. At this point, we're at over 30,000 people traveling through the middle of the city of Hannibal every day. There are 7 stoplights along 61, but one thing I think that's really spurred coming and talking to you guys about this again, and some of the local action that's being taken, is that Hannibal High School and Middle School are directly on Highway 36 or Highway 61 in Hannibal, and have recently purchased property across the street. And so now not only do we have a school district located on this very busy corridor, but they now will be having students starting next year going back and forth across that street. So just a lot of safety concerns there. I'm talking to you today with about 4 years experience living in Hannibal, about 2 years working on this project, but I know that many of the people in this room have been working on that much longer. Originally, this started, I believe, when Ed was actually the Northeast District Engineer back in 1996, whenever there was an original environmental impact statement developed. At that time, that report showed that our current facilities were inadequate and constituted safety issues. They shared that crash rates were likely to increase. We were creating unacceptable levels of service, and there would be delays due to intersections. So we are approaching 30 years since that finding. So, I'd say maybe it's time we get to work on it, right? So we have obviously, so my office and our transportation committee was formed again probably in 2019. So now we're at about 6 years of talking transportation development in Marion and Rawls, specifically this project. Through working with the Council of Governments and MoDOT, we were able to, get some funding to do the EIS again in 2023. That came with a safety analysis, and a lot of the things that were kind of prophesized in 96 have come to be. We have 23% of our traffic volume on 61 in Hannibal are commercial motor vehicles. So somewhere between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 traveling through that school district are commercial vehicles. 21% of those crashes are CMVs. That is more than twice the state average. And we have surpassed the statewide average for crash rates or combined fatal and serious injuries. 6 fatal crashes and 38 serious injuries in 5 years. So that's more than 1 fatality a year. And then we also, as part of that, MoDOT also did a public survey, and 90% of the respondents felt traffic volume and safety were issues. And 63%, including myself and probably everyone in here from Hannibal, take alternate routes to avoid the 61 corridor. So all things you all know, but just to kind of set the stage. We also got that cost estimate from the EIS. Multiple alternatives were looked at. The further west those alternates went, we saw less environmental impact and less cost. And so we realized that the alternate F that actually connects to the Highway 24 connector between 36 and 61 is the most feasible option. So we have, MoDOT has shared that with us, and we kind of started talking, okay, 130, what are we going to do? So at the same time that this was going on, the city of Palmyra put together a citizen advisory group to begin working on how do they address some of the safety issues they're seeing on 61 as well. If you've traveled through Palmyra recently, you'll see that they have 2 on-off ramps on the north and south side of town. One is partially closed. The other is always in danger of closure due to rollovers. And then you have direct intersections on 61. The city is also very motivated to begin seeking solutions because they are developing a business park on the east side of 61. And so they would love to have a better solution for heavy truck traffic coming on and off 61. And that Citizens Advisory Group was able to identify or was able to recommend a diamond interchange, even locate find the location and come up with cost estimates as well of 16 to 21. On the south side of Marion and Rawls, you also have New London, which is the county seat for Rawls County. If you've traveled through New London, there is a great interchange at Highway 19 where the pilot is that provides great access to 19. However, Highway A, which sits just north of Highway 19, is still a direct access onto US 61. At the same time, Rawls County Road and Bridge has put in a location right off of that frontage road along Highway A. And because of the J-turn, those heavy trucks and anyone coming off of Highway A that would like to go north have to first go south, get on the Diamond Interchange, get back on 61, and then head north. So again, we're putting very heavy truck traffic on 61 at low speeds, creating a safety issue. So all that to say that our committee has realized that to solve some of these issues, and I'll tell you that my first role is as an economic developer, and I like to say that a safe city or a safe community is a growing community. And so we have very much prioritized how are we going to deal with some of these Highway 61 challenges. We feel that this is a huge value add to be along this key corridor here in Northeast Missouri, and we want to show our commitment to making it safe and its ability to help foster growth. So we've pulled together a lot of collaboration between our municipalities, our local business leaders to take a pretty progressive, aggressive approach to dealing with this. And so we've recognized the need for safety and opportunity. And so we as a local group are planning to request a 2-county transportation development district, as Commissioner Boatwright mentioned earlier, to impose a 50-cent sales tax to provide local funding for a cost share. We've seen it work in Kirksville. We've seen it work in other places around the state. We saw it work for 36. Well, I didn't. I wasn't around. But you all saw it work for 36 back in the early 2000s. And so we know that this is an effective solution for dealing with something like this. And so we would love to be able to take that to the ballot in April of 2026 to both vote for the Transportation Development District and impose the sales tax. But first, we would like to work with the Missouri Highway Transportation Commission and MoDOT to come up with some sort of memorandum of understanding or preliminary agreement on cost share. So that way, when I go out and my local committee goes out and starts talking about that vote, we have a great understanding of what that cost share looks like. So we would like to move forward in negotiating so that the petition can be submitted to the circuit court for it to go to the ballot. And just here today to kind of present that to you all and let you know that we are ready to take an active role in doing this. We really feel that some of these projects in Northeast Missouri, I know my counterparts at the Highway 54 Coalition are going to speak after this. We all believe that these are projects that can benefit larger than just, in my case, Marion and Rawls. But we believe in them and we want to participate. And so with that, I'd take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Questions from the commission, Commissioner Slade?
I have a comment. First of all, thank you for your leadership, and we really appreciate you taking time to join us today. This is very helpful to what we do. I know that MoDOT is involved in this project, and there are challenges, which you're very much aware. It's great to see, this really helps us a lot, that the community is working hard to overcome those challenges, and we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. But this could be an exciting project. Thank you.
We believe so. I think that what brought me here today, here in 2025, is years and years and years of gathering buy-in, right? This project has been on the radar of the community for over 30 years. And so I think we have more buy-in on this than we've ever had, and we're very excited about that. And we're also very excited to make this into a corridor project so that Marion and Rawls, as two counties, can say that they've taken an active role in planning for transportation in those two counties. So I can't take credit for that. I think that's years and years of people talking about this project and finally, coming together and having that buy-in for sure.
Mr. Chairman. Number one, thank you for being here. Your energy, the work that you've done on this, tremendous. Really, really exciting. I have a couple questions. On the TDD, the first time that those funds would actually be realized would be in 2027. Would that be right?
I believe so, yes.
So my question is, in the short term, if this moves forward, ballot initiative passes, what's that short term, I'm assuming bonding, but what's that short term solution to fill that gap on any cost share project? Because I want to say that this, back on your slide, was 130 million. So what's that short term mechanism? I know that the TDD itself is going to pay the debt service and the long term loan, but what's that game plan?
I think that's largely an area that I probably still need a lot of education on. We do have Armstrong Teasdale on retainer helping us with some of those questions about the legality and the formation of the TDD. But I think, that's something that we might rely on MoDOT to start having those conversations of, here is the short-term solution as we start to see the TDD generate revenue. And ultimately, I'm excited to learn more about the financing options through the finance board and things like that. But I think, we would probably defer to the MoDOT leadership to help us understand how to get there.
And Director, our team's well versed on this topic.
Yeah, I think, they're going to need some assurance that we're going to play ball, right? That's what you need to go get the citizens of Rawls and Marion County to pony up. And we did that on 36 with a preliminary agreement on kind of, how that would move forward. I think we just need to understand the revenue generation and, 130 plus the other projects. We're talking about a pretty big lift in a long time frame. And is there a commitment to that? And then we figure out our commitment and figure out how to move forward.
And I will tell you that we have pulled sales tax revenue data for the two counties. And we believe if revenue were to stay flat, which we know that it won't, we expect it not to, we at current time have ability to generate about $3 million a year from a two county sales tax. So when we have that discussion with MoDOT, it will be based on, here's what we can do each year. How long of a term would we want this TDD to operate? And so I think it's going to be a lot of crunching the numbers and figuring out what we can bring to the table realistically as well.
That makes sense. Again, congratulations. I've been on the commission. This year's the 5th year, and I've kind of watched this and the ebbs and flows of it over the years. You've taken the bull by the horns. The group of folks that you have here, tremendous that you've gotten to this point. Congratulations, and very exciting for the region, no doubt. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I cannot take credit. We've got some really great local leadership working on this, so it's pretty impressive.
Well, thank you, Maria. I've got some question about this as well. I think this F alignment does seem attractive. The presentation that's going to follow you is going to talk about making improvements to US 54, creating what would, I understand, be the shortest distance between Kansas City to Chicago. And if I understand that correctly, we utilize and improve 54 to 36 and then 36 across the river to 72. Does the future of that project have any impact or bearing on how you look at this expressway bypass?
I think the Highway 54 project is so complementary to what we are working on in terms of opening up Northeast Missouri for economic development. Having safe four-lane options to access Northeast Missouri is going to continue to assist us in development. The Chicago-Kansas City Expressway is a huge value add for us, but having that option of 54 as well, really, that helps put us on the map even further. And so we very much feel that our project is complementary and both of us can benefit from each other. I don't know if that
that
answers.
corridor would traverse the expressway only at the interchange that's proposed.
Yes, so my understanding, and I might let Commissioner Winters talk a little bit more about that, but they would still come up 61. And then, yes, I believe if they wanted to use the expressway, they would take, that blue road up to 36, hop on 36, and then head east from there. Does that sound correct? Yes, okay.
Okay.
So it would be the bottom half, I guess, and that is actually all of the new road construction that we would have.
Well, that's very exciting. I mean, when you think about what the two together could do, of course, finding the money is always the challenge. But when you think what the two together could do, it's a pretty exciting concept and provide a lot of access to Northeast Missouri that you don't have.
Absolutely.
Ed, do you have any thoughts or comments?
Well, I would just say, I think it was my second day as director, first day.
And first day as interim, yeah, you were in
first day-
Hannibal.
First day as interim director, I went to Hannibal and met with Maria and her team. And it was refreshing to see, because the challenge really has always been there wasn't consensus in the region about whether you take traffic off of the existing route and what does it do to business. And so Maria and her team have done a phenomenal job of getting the first step, which is consensus, to move forward, and now is following up with a real plan to move it. So kudos to you all that have been working hard on this.
And I will say it was very special to know that we had the buy-in from the director that quickly. I mean, I think it really set us all back that Ed was willing to come up and have that conversation with us when I know that your days were incredibly full at that point. So I do maybe brag a little bit that, we got that quality time at that stage. So very much appreciate that.
Very good. Well, thank you, Maria. And, this commission really values community leadership. So we applaud you for the leadership you're providing. This is very exciting.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
Director,
Yes.
there's two people who aren't with us today that'd be proud that this is moving forward, and that's the two Toms, Tom Oakley and Tom Boland.
Oh.
They'd be happy to see this.
Okay, Kevin.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Alan Winters, Presiding Commissioner of Audrain County and Chairman of the 54 Coalition. Alan has a long record of public service, starting in 1984. I first met Alan when he was City Administrator of Vandalia, and since then, he's been Associate Commissioner and now Presiding Commissioner in Audrain County for many years. He's also been an active member of the 54 Coalition for many years, as we talked, it spans several counties and impacts many communities across the region. So it's my pleasure to introduce Alan.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Director Hassinger, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's a pretty cool opportunity for me because I was in this building about 40 years ago, a lot, as a student here. It wasn't to make presentations to the Missouri Department of Transportation or Transportation Commission. It was to drink beer and play pool, right? About 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of being in this building to drop off one of my sons to I attended Northeast to attend Truman. And now, 20 years later, here presenting to this body, I appreciate that opportunity. But I want to warn you, in 20 more years, I have no intention of being in the building or making a presentation. Again, we appreciate the opportunity to be here. I want to thank Ms. Jorgensen for her patience in helping me get to this point. So where we have a presentation that's on there, I want to congratulate you guys for putting together an excellent staff. We certainly enjoy working with Director Hassinger, Kevin, and Emily. They do a great job. We'd like to get a few more yeses out of Emily, but we'll just keep asking questions. She never fails to answer our calls, and we never wonder whether or not we're getting good information. So we appreciate that very much. This commitment with MoDOT's been, as Kevin mentioned, I think we've been doing this for over 20 years. It's resulted in some completed projects, a couple of roundabouts, primarily safety improvements, a couple of roundabouts, and the Highway 54 Coalition. It doesn't take credit for the bridge over the Mississippi at Louisiana, but hopefully we played a part in that, in helping manage local input and helping gain local input. There was a conceptual study completed in 2023 on the 54 corridor, and it is at least in part on the high priority unfunded needs list. I'm not going to give you a lot of details about traffic counts and those sorts of things. You have experts that can give you that. But it's 59 miles of highway between Mexico, Missouri, and Louisiana, Missouri, the Illinois state line. It's after Mexico, Missouri, you can be on 4-lane and get to 70 and then go anywhere in the world on Highway 70. If you're on the Avenue of the Saints or 61, you can pretty much go anywhere in the world on 4-lane. This is a section between those two. Estimated cost of $125 million, and we have for STIP purposes, for the purposes of trying to make it potentially possible to do in smaller sections, we've broken it up into bite-sized sections. We believe this project is important, first of all, for the safety of the people of the region. That is, I know, a priority. Your priority. We mix traffic on Highway 54 from trucks at 65 miles an hour to combines at 14 miles an hour to horse and buggies at 4 miles an hour. This is not the only road in the state that's that way. But again, remember, it is one of those connections. And there are obviously the economic benefits for the region, and we believe for the state, of completing the corridor. The coalition efforts, it's primarily Audrain and Pike counties, and the communities along there: Mexico, Missouri, Bowling Green, Vandalia, Louisiana. So that's primarily who makes up the coalition, and we wouldn't be successful in staying together or in completing our goals without the help of MoDOT. We've made applications for build, raise grants to secure funding unsuccessfully thus far, but Anna Gill, our local transportation planner, tells me we have no intention of stopping to make those applications. So we will continue to do that. We'll participate in public involvement for past, future improvements on the corridor. And I mentioned what our goal is, what our intention is to be a local sounding board, is to bring to MoDOT the voice of these communities, and to be a place that MoDOT can come and say, what do you think about this, right? How about if we do that? Hopefully we're successful in doing that. Want to talk a little bit about unfinished projects. It was mentioned by the Hannibal bypass, by the young lady that did the presentation about the Hannibal bypass. There are a number of projects that I think fit into this same category. I'm going to call it the category of almost but incompleted projects. In the Northeast, Highway 54 would fall into that because it's just a section that needs to be completed. I think the Hannibal bypass falls into that, because you can go everywhere and it works really well, except for this section where there's all these stoplights. lights and all of this congestion. It drives people away from using that corridor. The Macon bypass is on our, it's on our radar as a need that is, the 4 lanes great, except you got to go through Macon, right? And then you get to Kirksville, and then you're on 2 lane up to Atumwa. In my mind, and I think in the mind of many others, these are projects that are almost done, but for that last section. They're also projects that are too big to be funded from the district funding allocations, and maybe small enough that they can never get the attention of a Highway 70. Incidentally, congratulations on being a part of that. That's a great improvement for the state. It's needed, and you guys are the eyes and ears for the state to determine what the priorities are. So when Director Hassinger mentioned that you're putting together a statewide plan and taking public input, the public input I would like to offer is we need to find a way, a funding mechanism to do these almost completed but not quite completed projects. My grandpa, and that'll show you that I grew up in a little town in a farm, right? My grandpa was a carpenter. And of course, they remodeled the house that he and my grandmother lived in. And it was almost done. It was almost done, but there was some trim around the oven, built-in double oven that was never got done, actually. And some trim around the door. Now, my grandmother saw the undone part, right? My grandfather saw the part that was done. And I heard him say, and this is an absolutely true story. Oh, well, I'll get it done. I'll get it done. Well, it never actually did quite get done, but it did not affect the utility of the house, right? The house was still as useful without the prettiness. We're not talking about projects that are just pretty. Another absolutely true story, and it was not my family's, but I was in the basement of a house, and of course the waste system is in the basement, right? Your sewer pipes. Sewer pipes are exposed. You could see them. This guy had been there long enough. He didn't see it, but it's the first thing I saw. The waste pipe was connected from one of the bathrooms, plastic PVC pipe, a gap, more plastic PVC. Between that gap, he had put an inner tube for a tire. And of course, it was on the outside of the one above and inside of the one below. Did it work? Well, I didn't test it. But I believe that it mostly kind of worked. It didn't do the kind of ventilation protection that it was supposed to do, but it kind of worked. It did not allow that system to function at capacity. And I think some of these projects, they're not small projects. Hannibal bypass is not a small project. Highway 54 is not a small project, but I think they're kind of like that section it still pretty kind of works, but what could the capacity be if we completed those smaller projects? What would transportation in Northeast Missouri look like if Highway 54 were completed and the Hannibal bypass were completed and 63 north of Kirksville? My job is obviously not to lobby for all of those projects, but my interest, as my grandkids will grow up here in Northeast Missouri, my interest is in making a good transportation system, help do my part, voice my opinion on what would make a good transportation system in Northeast Missouri, help keep those guys there. We appreciate the support of MoDOT. Also, I want to mention support on Highway 54 from the late Senator Christopher Bond. Support from Representative Hayden, support from Congressman Graves. Sarah Graff's here from Congressman Graves' office. Thanks to Sarah, our Congressman Graves, and because I was on the National Association of Counties Transportation Committee, I blame Sarah. I'm always going to blame you, Sarah. I was called one Tuesday and said, next Tuesday, can you testify in front of the Congressional Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. So I got to do that. Normally speaking in front of a group doesn't make me nervous, but that made me nervous. And what I want to tell you is I talked about these same projects. Obviously a different audience, but we believe these things are important. We appreciate your support. We have looked at the TTD or TDD, and it's been a few years, but we don't generate enough sales tax to make it. At that time, maybe we should look at it again. We didn't generate enough sales tax to make a real difference, and some of the communities were up against a sales tax limit. So it's not that we don't want to do our part, and I applaud those places that Marion and Rawls County for moving forward with that. It's not that we don't want to do our part. It is that all these projects are in a little different situation. You can't really break up the Hannibal bypass into little bitty sections. Maybe you can, our project. So maybe that's an advantage. Maybe it's a disadvantage. But they are all in different places. And I know you guys have a tough job, but finding a way to fund that last section of sewer pipe would be my request, my hope, my public input. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Thank you. Yeah. Commissioner Hagan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alan, thank you for the presentation. Thanks for working with our team up here. I know our team understands the community's needs and interest, that this is a priority project. As you said, it's a big project. And
It is.
therefore, it slips down to the unfunded needs category rather than being in the STIP. I do think the commission looks forward to continuing working with you into the future and see if we can find ways of addressing it. I appreciate you mentioning and working with regional council governments too on all these projects. And big believer in the TAC committee or the MPOs. You have one of those up here, but I served on a TAC committee and the MPO over on the northwest part of the state, and like that ground up approach. Appreciate you saying something about the TDD. It doesn't seem to work. And it's been a while since I've looked at it, but I thought there might be a property tax option in those things, maybe and maybe I'm confusing an NID and a CID with that as well. But I didn't know if that would, like I said, it's been a while since I looked at the TDD.
Yeah, you are very likely correct, Commissioner. I'm unaware of that,
Yeah,
but we can certainly look at it.
And certainly, like I say, it could be confusing, conflating all of them. You mentioned I-70 and the work we're doing down there. I would ask you to thank our legislators, colleagues on that, and the governor, Parson. They're the ones that are making that opportunity to move forward. So if you get a chance, please thank our legislative colleagues.
I will do that.
Who provided the funds to be able to move forward on the I-70.
I will certainly do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dan. Other comment or question?
Mr. Chairman? In my mind, I'm a nerdy civil engineer. Spent a career, flash to bang getting projects done. And one of the keys to getting something done is having the energy and having the thought and think big behind it. And then all the other things can kind of fall in line as you go forward. I turn 40 next month, which I don't want to think about a whole lot, but the thing that I think that we've been in a rut in, and this isn't just Missouri, this is nationwide. We don't think big enough, and we don't, and I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. You fast forward a century, you look at Southeast Missouri, vast swamp. Group of folks had the energy and the thought, and you fast forward to today, 30 to 40% of our commodities come out of that little part of the world, and they put a system in that was unfathomable, like couldn't even wrap your mind around doing something like that, but they did it. You look at this highway system we've got in the state, we've got the seventh largest highway system in the United States. And back in the years when we were talking about getting Missouri out of the mud, it wasn't even in the realm of possibility. So I'll say this, the one thing that I think is wonderful is the leadership that we've had in the legislature over the last 5 years since I've been on this commission, and the money that they've put on I-70, on I-44, throughout on the low-volume roads, that's really kickstarted and given MoDOT the opportunity to show that we have a team that can get it done. And yes, the director mentioned it earlier, I'm fanatical on execution because without execution, money doesn't do much. You can keep throwing money at a lot of things, but unless you have a team that can get it done, what's the money do? It's just money.
Right.
So, I'm very proud of folks like you and Maria and folks throughout the state that think big, that see the need, that are willing to put their energy behind it because it moves the needle. It may not feel like it's moving the needle, but it does move the needle. One big fact that a lot of people don't know, the commissioners are well aware of this, but we're 47th in the United States on revenue per mile. And I'm not complaining because I'm happy with the place that we're at right now in Missouri because we are flat getting work done. Huge amounts of work. We've got between 800 and 1,100 job sites going throughout the state, moving the needle big time right now. For that to continue, for that opportunity that we've got before us, it's going to take the energy of folks like you and leaders throughout the state that have the courage to get behind these initiatives, see the need, and eventually line the money up to get it done. And I will say this, as a commissioner, getting to see the operations behind the scenes, this team that we have here at MoDOT is absolutely world-class. And if there's ever a time that we're going to move the needle, this is the team to move it. You throw the money in, it's going to come out, and there's going to be a project at the other end of it. And that makes me very proud as a Missourian to be a part of that and get to see it. But I appreciate you coming today. I hope that you continue down this path. I hope your kids, your grandkids, anybody that you can get with the energy behind it, keep it up, because folks like you thinking big and seeing the need makes the difference. So thank you.
Thank you. I hope nothing that I've said you consider to be criticism. It's
Absolutely
because
not.
it's absolutely not
No.
direct. Okay, good.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just let me say that in terms of thinking big, this notion of the US 54 corridor as it carves off distance for traffic between Kansas City and Chicago, I think that's a big idea. And it's a big idea that's doable. It isn't a big idea that's pie in the sky. It's doable. And money's always the difficult part, but I'm really intrigued by that big idea. Appreciate your leadership on it.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Well, that's why we come on the road, to hear about exciting things like those projects, and we really appreciate all of our presenters today. Now we're going to turn to some MoDOT business. Danica is here to present our consideration of bids.
Chairman Erdman, Commissioners, and Director Hassinger. For the May 16, 2025 bid opening, we had 155 bids on 61 calls. Our recommendations are to award all calls to the lowest responsive bidder except for calls C04, C07, C19 in Kansas City District, and call D04 and D05 in the Central District. We recommend rejection of calls C07, C19, D04, and D05 due to excessive bids per section 102.15A of Missouri Standard Specification for Highway Construction. We also recommend the rejection of call C04 due to contract documents not including all intended evaluation factors per section 102.15E of Missouri Standard Specification Highway Construction. Also, calls B01 in the Northeast District and call H01 in the Southeast District did not receive any bids. These conclude our recommendations for today.
Very good, Danica. Does anybody have additional questions from yesterday for Danica? Okay, then, hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the bids as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval would signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. The ayes have it, and the bids are approved. Thank you, Danica. Do you have a budget update?
I do. Today's awards are a total of 194.2 million, which is a 15.6 million under budget. This brings the year to date for fiscal year 25 to 2.535 billion, which is 4.1% or 107.9 million under budget on 2.6 billion worth of work. And that concludes the fiscal year for 2025.
Another banner year. Thank you. Thank you for your work on this. And I guess this wraps it up in terms of awards in the current fiscal year.
Yep. So we're going to start 2026 next month.
Very good. Well, thank you again. We appreciate the fine work.
Thank you.
I think Kevin, you might be up again. Yeah, we're going to have an update now on the Northeast District.
Yeah, you're making me earn my promotion here on the first day, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director. It's my pleasure to give you an update on the Northeast District. We talked about our district being very diverse earlier, but just to give a little background, 17 counties, almost 10,000 lane miles, 1,100 bridges, almost 300,000 population across our 13 counties. And you heard some needs today about some of our major routes. We also have 2 counties of Interstate 70, several miles of low volume routes as well. So it's a very wide ranging transportation system we have in our region. One of our priorities for MoDOT is to take care of our existing system. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about a few categories where we've made some good progress. And the first one is bridges. We track our number of poor condition bridges. That's one of our tracker measures, as Ed gave an update on the tracker earlier in his director's report. But you can see over the past several years, we've reduced our number of poor condition bridges considerably. It's kind of a good news, bad news thing. The good news is we've reduced them considerably. The bad news is there's still several out there, right? So we're always conscious of those, trying to be sure that we're programming them into our 5-year construction program to be sure we continue to make progress, because in most years, even when we replace or rehabilitate bridges and improve their condition, there's always a handful that we inspect and they've downgraded from fair to poor. So trying to keep sure that we do a good job in that area. One thing that we do hear a lot from our customers, as well as you heard this morning from some of our legislative partners, is our low volume route system. And we've been able to make some improvements the past couple of years. We get our funding through our STIP program, but there has been also some additional funding that our region gets. The Governor's Rural Route Program has allowed us to make a lot of improvements that we would not have been able to do differently. And then the Asset Management Deficit Program has been able to make those improvements on those low volume routes as well. This is just a summary of the Governor's focus on rural routes. You can see over the past 3 years, if you add up those columns together, it's over 500 miles of roads. Very impactful across our 17 counties, and we're hopeful as we talked earlier, that program continues. Even if it's not at the level it has been, any funding is going to help us make progress in this area and try to make improvements on those conditions overall. Another area that our staff continues to do well is we talked about executing the plan, our STIP projects, 85% delivered on time, over 116 million awarded. We have a very experienced staff that does a great job executing that plan, keeping those projects moving forward. We also have a great maintenance staff across our 17 counties that, Ed talked about the storms that's hit certain parts of the state. We have been fortunate, but we did get a lot of winter weather over the past year where our staff worked a lot of hours, put a lot of salt out on the road, driven over 500,000 miles. Big commitment. Our employees do a great job. They take pride in keeping the roads treated and try to keep it safe for their family and friends that need to get out and drive on our system. Another thing I want to talk about is our customer service focus and maintenance. Ed calls this our windshield items. We've really tried to do a lot of focus in that area. Having our staff, these numbers really add up quick, but when you have over 300 maintenance personnel over 17 counties, everybody's doing their share. We ask people to pick up a certain number of hours a litter. You can see from the slide on the bottom left, there's a good before and after picture of an area where I know you've heard concerns in some of our urban areas, mainly on routes going to landfills or to distribution centers for trash. This is one of our routes that goes to one of our landfills where our staff went out and did a lot of work, and you can see the before and after there. Another picture I wanted to talk about there is our automated pothole patcher that our district started using this spring. We've had a few of those around the state for the past couple of years. This is a good tool that allows us to get good quality patches while also reducing that risk of having our employees on the ground, on foot, doing that work. Dead animal removal, spraying noxious weeds. Those striping figures are last season's numbers, but all the other ones are from January to May of this year. So they've done a lot of great work out there across our 17 counties. I did want to talk about a few projects as well. This is a bridge that was replaced on Highway 6 over Highway 61. It actually started this spring and it was open to traffic in May. This was a main corridor where we tried to be sure and get in and get out as quick as we could, limit the interruption of traffic. The bridge was closed during the construction. Motorists had to take alternate routes, and our contractor did a great job getting it done within our allotted time frame. Another interchange is at Highway 47 and US 61 at Troy. This project will be done this fall. It is a diverging diamond interchange. We have a handful of those around the state. It will be the first one in the Northeast District. But we're making great progress on that project as well, where it'll be a combination of a bridge that was in poor condition that needed replaced, but we also had an area that was experiencing a lot of traffic congestion. And our solution with our new bridge and our new design is going to solve both of those problems for the community and the area. Another project, you've heard about a lot of the work zones we have across the state. Taking care of our system on Highway 36 is, there was 2 work zones yesterday when I came to Kirksville on that corridor, where another emphasis to maintain our system, keeping those major routes in good condition, keeping those reliable. 2 separate contracts, and both of those contractors are making good progress this year and keeping that road in good condition for many years beyond. I know several of you were at our I-70 groundbreaking again in Warren County, part of Northeast District, part of Project 2. It also goes into St. Charles County. We've already got to the second phase where the barrier wall's out there. They're building the 3rd lane behind it. We have plans for next year to do a lot of those improvements at the interchanges. But as been talking to some of the past presentations, very exciting, something that's been a need for a long time. We're able to get the money and able to move forward. Kim Trainer's our project director, and she's doing a great job on that project on that corridor. Other needs on I-70, these are outside of the limits of Project 2, but we do also have some bridge work. We're replacing some bridges. This will be part of the next section in Northeast that will be have the 3rd lane added, but we've got one project this year that we're doing, and the other bridge will be replaced in 2026. One is in Montgomery County, one is in Warren County, but again, taking care of the system, being sure it's reliable, and keeping it in good condition for many years to go. I just want to talk a little bit about our staffing. It's a great team we have in Northeast. As you know, around the state, we still have vacancies. We're trying to hire, fill those gaps. We also have people retiring. I mentioned Paula retiring earlier this year. So some of those kind of a trickle-down effect, but these numbers were as of the 1st of June. But even this week, we had another group of new employees that were going through the orientation. We had 9 individuals on Monday. Most of those were Some of those were interns, some were full-time staff, but it's good to see more people that we're able to recruit. We are having some difficulty recruiting maintenance personnel. The closer you get to St. Louis, there's just more competition for those applicants, other jobs. But we've shifted around internally with our staff to be sure we're doing a good job with customer service throughout the region, even in areas where we're having staffing issues. But even when we get those employees on, it's very important to be sure that we give them the right training and development for them to grow in their job. I just wanted to highlight a little bit about our Maintenance Leadership Academy, where that's a program that's around the state where we try to get people able to take that next step in their career, whether that's a crew leader, a supervisor, or superintendent position. But our coordinator for that in our district, Ronnie Calvin's pictured there in the slide. He does a great job with that program. We did talk a little bit statewide about fatalities. This is an area where you can tell that we still have fatalities happening in Northeast. And the picture there was a county, Schuyler County, that we recognized. They had 0 fatalities for all of 2024. We had 2 counties in our region, Schuyler and Knox, that did that. So we know we can see those long periods of 0 fatalities. We just need to stack more of them up in other regions and across the state. Although we're almost halfway through 2025, we still have several counties this year that are at 0 fatalities. So hoping to see that trend continue to the end of 2025. But you know, we do a lot of outreach and education events, but our law enforcement partners, especially the Highway Patrol, is very great to partner with us when we have issues in a work zone or an intersection problem, and they're also very instrumental in our education and outreach. I did also want to highlight a few projects, as I know some of you was at the Innovation Showcase where our Northeast employees had some winning submittals. The first one there is our lot of asphalt. This was a project that was in Clark County that we raised the road to limit the flooding on US 61 and Highway 136 going into Iowa. So we tried a different approach. We also had our communication staff that was teamed up with some other employees from information system and the communication division and central office. And then the bottom one there, we won the Director's Award for Safety. Courtside Connection, our communication staff had an outreach event where they go to basketball games, trying to highlight the Buckle Up Phone Down program. And it's very good. Ralph Martin, our port director, was here earlier. He's actually a high school referee. I've seen him at several games. So it's good. You know, there's a good network out there trying to get people involved, trying to stress that education effort, not relying just on the laws that people may or may not follow. As we talked about, you know, seat belts, even though it's been a law for many years, we don't get 100% compliance out there. And then last thing I just want to talk a little bit about is our team in Northeast. We have a great team up here across our 17 counties, a lot of great knowledge. I'm really honored to be able to lead them as a district engineer, but they do a great job. They have a lot of experience. We talk about executing the plan. A lot of times it's tell them the goals and get out of their way. You know, they do a great job. They have a lot of great ideas, trying to foster that innovation. We have hired a lot of new employees in our district, similarly across the state. So that effort to be sure we're doing the right thing every day on employee safety is also very important, because our goal is for those employees to go home safely every day. I did want to just briefly mention we had a issue last week in a work zone with a very upset motorist. And we had an employee that was flagging, and they did very good keeping their composure. But those are the kind of things that we see in work zones that are a safety risk that our employees handle daily. Sometimes we don't hear about them, but they do a great job throughout our district and all those work zones, being safe, doing the work around our complexes, and really just can't say enough about our team here in Northeast. That concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions or follow-up information that you might need.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
I'm sorry. No, just to comment, Kevin, you know, everything from lowest volume roads in the state the Interstate 70 and everything in between, and the work that you guys going on up here. It's amazing, and the good job that you all are doing. And I again want to congratulate you, Kevin. I met you 12 years ago right here, and you've done a good job of leadership, and I know Paul has trained you well. So anyway, we appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Have a comment. Just have a quick comment. I just want to thank you very much for your leadership. I hadn't had a chance to work with you and meet very much in the past, but I want to tell you that just in the past 24 hours, I've got to have some experience with you and your leadership ability and your presentation. Thank you very much. You're obviously a very dedicated and competent leader in the organization. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Ed, anything you want to add here?
Hey, I know Eric is thrilled that Kevin accepted this job, so now he has less work to do, but we're thrilled. I came to Hannibal and Kevin was a young traffic engineer and worked for me, and I could see it in him then. And he's been a consummate leader for this organization for his entire career, and he's going to do a great job.
Well, then on behalf of all of us and all Missourians, thanks for stepping up. Please do extend to your workforce team, your maintenance team, your work zone teams, the incredible gratitude that we all feel to them. I know that on occasion they're confronted by angry motorists, and we want them all to know how much we appreciate their dealing with those difficult situations. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then. We're going to move now to an action item that's kind of important for the year. Consideration of the FY 2026 budget. Brenda Morris, our Chief Financial Officer, will present the budget for our approval today. Brenda?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Director Hassinger. Today, I'm seeking your approval for the fiscal year 2026 budget. The legislative budget process this year has been interesting. The fiscal year 25 budget totaled $8.3 billion. The fiscal year 26 budget I'm asking you to approve today is $7.6 billion. Why is this year's budget smaller? As mentioned earlier, there was legislation filed this year to create a federal road fund. In anticipation of that legislation being passed, the legislature reduced the state road fund appropriations and included appropriations from the federal road fund. Since the enabling legislation creating the mechanism to fund the federal road fund did not pass, we have excluded those appropriations from the budget we are asking for you to approve today. Those federal road fund appropriations are empty spending authority. Because of the reduction to the state road fund appropriations, we only have about enough spending authority to get through approximately 9 months of the fiscal year. We will need to go back to the legislature in fiscal year 2026 and get supplemental appropriations totaling $642.7 million. And this situation makes comparisons of the fiscal year 25 budget to the fiscal year 26 budget difficult. Once we have a supplemental approved, we will come back to the commission with a budget amendment. Again, this year, the General Assembly also appropriated another $120.5 million of general revenue in new transportation investments covering all modes of transportation. Governor Kehoe and the General Assembly have continued investing in transportation. My presentation will highlight the primary details of the budget. But before I talk about that, everything I'm presenting today was possible because of the hard work of many employees here at MoDOT. Todd Grosvenor, Janelle Lucanati, Sam Bearhorse, Paige Bain, and their staff from Financial Services were responsible for compiling our submittal and supporting it through the legislative process. Department-wide, we received assistance from divisions and districts as we addressed specific questions that we received and information requests throughout session. Governmental Relations also assisted. In addition, the director and the commission were very instrumental in helping keep our budget intact. And to all, I give a huge thank you. I'm going to give a quick overview of the entire budget, and then we're going to highlight some specific actions taken by the General Assembly. As part of the financial planning model, we have 3 important financial documents. Each serves a different purpose, but they all fit together and represent the department's spending plan. Section 33.220 of the state statutes requires all state departments to submit an appropriation request annually by October 1 to the state budget director. Last August, Todd Grosvenor, the Financial Services Director, presented to the Commission the department's fiscal year 26 appropriation submission. The submission was then shepherded through the legislative process by the governor recommending his budget in January and the General Assembly passing their version of their budget on May 9th. As part of the Commission's policies under financial, a policy titled Operating Budget governs the approvals needed by the Commission. This policy indicates the Commission will approve the budget by budget category, that is administration, safety and operations, program delivery, fleet facilities and information systems, multimodal, and fringe benefits. You can see those listed on attachment 1 of your materials. The policy also delegates the authority to make decisions on single transactions depending on the dollar amount within those budget categories. The Commission's approval at the budget category level is what we're recommending today. This pie chart shows an overview of the department's budget by budget category. This chart does not include any of those federal road fund appropriations. Not a surprise, the largest budget category is program delivery at 81%. That does include $392 million for General Assembly designated and funded projects, the $2.8 billion for Improve I-70, and $577.5 million for the Forward 44 program. But if we continue to look at the chart, that's not the whole story. Most of this budget is put towards transportation work and projects. This includes funds for program delivery, safety and operations, fleet facilities and information systems, and multimodal. The budgeted funds for these areas is approximately 95% of the entire budget. The remaining parts of the budget are administration, refunds, and fringe benefits. The refunds are associated with motor carriers. The majority of the refunds for motor carriers is because the motor carriers pay fuel tax when they fuel their vehicles. However, the funds are distributed based upon where they drive the miles. In the smaller chart, you can see how the total is $608 million for General Assembly designated and funded projects breaks down by budget category. The Commission submitted a pay plan as part of the appropriation submission. The Governor and the General Assembly approved that pay plan. The department pay plan includes components to continue to address employee pay as it relates to market and to move employees through salary ranges based upon tenure. This is not an across-the-board pay increase. In addition to the pay plan, I also want to discuss new positions. The Commission approved and the department included as part of its appropriation submission a need for 312 additional positions. Of that 312 positions, 253 positions were in safety and operations in an effort to restore operations. Of the 312 requested, the General Assembly approved 117 new positions. 100 positions were for safety and operations, including maintenance workers and equipment technicians. 14 positions were provided for program delivery, and 3 positions were provided for the administrative functions of the Improve I-70 team. These additional positions will be helpful to improve our customer service. The department will need a supplemental budget totaling $69.8 million and the related full-time equivalents for personal services because of the reductions to the state road fund appropriations during session. The legislature approved increases for the safety and operations budget of nearly $40 million for various roadside contracts, non-fleet equipment, for additional asphalt and chip sealing repairs, and for a variety of smaller expenditures, including an increase for inflation. We've made progress at filling vacancies. However, we still have some work to do. In addition to the existing positions we have another 100 positions that will need to be filled in safety and operations. The money we receive for contracts will help supplement the work our MoDOT employees do that is very customer-centric. While it is not a long-term goal to contract maintenance activities, this much-needed boost should help bridge the gap until more staff can be hired and trained. In addition, the General Assembly designated and funded projects included an additional $20 million for the improvement of low-volume roads. This is now the fourth year the General Assembly has chosen to make this investment, and we are beginning to see the results in the improvements in the condition of pavement. For example, the conditions of our low-volume roads has gone from 71% good in 2021 to 83.1% good in 2024. The department will need a supplemental budget totaling $74 million for safety and operations because of the reduction of the state road fund appropriations during session. The draft STIP presented last month was $13.2 billion and did not include the additional General Assembly designated and funded projects that were new this session. This budget includes $2.3 billion to continue to hire consultants, purchase right-of-way, make contractor payments, pass through federal funds to local entities, and pay debt service. These are the regular projects and activities that we have always had. Through the supplemental process, we'll need an additional $487 million to make all of the program expenditures for fiscal year 2026. In addition, the program delivery expense and equipment budget is $30.8 million, and through the supplemental process, we will need an additional $10.4 million to make it to the end of the fiscal year. Starting 2 years ago, the General Assembly designated and funded several projects with general revenue or general revenue lookalike funding. These projects included $2.8 billion for the Improve I-70 program, $577.5 million for the Forward 44 program, and additional investments in several other projects. The General Assembly continued this practice during this legislative session. The map on the slide shows all the locations of the investments the General Assembly has approved for both road and bridges and other modes. For road and bridges, this budget includes $392.4 million for projects all around the state. A few of these include $5 million for US 60 and Ingram intersection ramps and outer roads in Sykeston, $4 million for US 54 improvements at Route 5, Laker Pride Road and Jack Prowl Road in Camdenton, $2.1 million for Business Route 63 between Route M and Burkhart Street in Moberly. This is a continued historical investment for transportation in Missouri. This budget contains $117.5 million for fleet facilities and information systems. These funds are used to manage our fleet and keep it in good working order, manage our facilities through a combination of preservation projects and capital improvement projects, and ensure we have sound information technology infrastructure to accomplish our work. In addition, as part of our facilities, we are also making improvements to way stations and rest areas. For fiscal year 26, we received an additional $9 million to make much-needed improvements to the mechanical systems at the materials lab. The current systems are outdated and are reaching their end of life. This is a particularly complex project as the systems are very technical and the lab must remain operational during the project. Similar to what we saw for roads and bridges, the General Assembly has also increased investment in other modes of transportation. This budget includes reappropriations of monies for some of the specialty projects and programs that were appropriated in previous years, like the Railroad Grade Crossing Safety Program and the Mobility Management Pilot Program. In addition, the General Assembly increased funding for port operating assistance and the state match for Amtrak as requested by the department. Just like they did for roads and bridges, the General Assembly also designated and funded some additional investments in other modes. This budget also includes projects for other modes like $7 million for the demolition of the long vacant Missouri Air National Guard building at Lambert Airport, $2.5 million for the new Madrid County Port, and $500,000 for a railroad crossing improvement in Phelps County. A complex budget this year with some good things and some challenges. I would remind everyone that the governor does still need to sign the budget bills. Any changes that the governor makes, we will bring back to the commission in the form of a budget amendment. We recommend the commission approve the budget as presented, contingent upon the governor's approval and all General Assembly designated and funded projects being vetted through the planning process. I would be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Commissioner Heckman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brenda, thank you very much. I have appreciated your and Todd and your whole team's professionalism when I was on the legislative side of things and appropriations chairman. Appreciated the professionalism and the way you presented the budget then. Since I've become a commissioner, I even am more impressed by your team's approach and the efforts that you do to put this together and bring it all about. A lot of time goes into this, a lot of players, I'm sure you get a lot of assistance from everybody throughout the state and within MoDOT, but you're the one that ties it all together. Thank you so very much. And I appreciate the budget that you presented to us.
Thank you.
Other comment?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, I would echo that and say thank you, Brenda, for your presentation today to articulate the highlights and some of the nuance in this budget. The MoDOT budget is absolutely a beast. There is so much to it, and it is critically important because the reliance on the budget and the ability to update as necessary is critically important to our operation. And the work of the team to make that happen is noted. And there's no such thing. I think a lot of folks feel that if it's budget season, it's time to go work on the budget. I think the budget season is every day because there's always change. There's always an outside event that's unanticipated or not controllable. And so it is constant and it is important. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you and acknowledge that. Commissioner Boatwright sometimes refers to himself as a nerdy engineer. You may have heard him say that even today, I believe. I don't know what I would call myself, but I do admit I enjoy reading a good financial statement. Just to self-disclose. And part of that is just kind of maybe the weirdness in me, but I do honestly believe that financial statements tell stories. And I don't think anyone in this room would disagree that there is a lot going on at MoDOT right now. It's a very high level of activity on almost every front, and this budget reflects that. And the financial statements tell that story. And you can look at a line item and you can say, why did that go up? Well, that's because da-da-da-da-da. And so I love them as point twos. I love them as measuring sticks. I love them as storytellers. They're very effective. So thank you for doing an effective job. And maybe you share a little of that with me. Love those numbers, Brenda. But they are truly important to MoDOT. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Okay, other comment? Ed, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, I think, with the challenge mentioned, the thing that we need to be still focused on is the execution and not pulling back because we have this challenge in front of us with a supplemental. We're going to deliver the projects. We're going to spend the money. We're going to do the work. And the team this gives them the green light with the commission's approval to go do the work. So we appreciate your support and we're going to get it done.
Very good. Yeah, I want to amplify that as well for those in the audience and those maybe listening in on the internet. The situation that Brenda described earlier comes about by virtue of the fact that we don't have authority to spend the full year that we have the money for. It's not that we don't have the money's in the road fund. I want to emphasize that again. It's not that we don't have the money is in the road fund. The issue is that the authorization to spend the money in the road fund is less than what's needed for a full year's operation. And we have made the strategic decision that we're plowing forward. We're not slowing anything down. Some might suggest, well, we're approving a budget that would run out of money in 9 months. And guess what? That's true. But we're doing it because we have the money and we want to keep our projects moving. But without the supplemental authority to spend the money in the road fund, we would be at a crisis in about March. that accurate?
That is correct.
And that crisis is not brought about by a lack of funds, just by the lack of authority to spend the fund in the road fund. So it's not a, got to find the money issue. It's just an authorizing issue.
That is correct.
So with that, that will explain why we are where we are. But we're plowing forward, and we have high confidence that we'll get that authorization at the first of the year. And we won't miss a beat, because if there's one thing this department and commission are absolutely committed to, it is delivering execution on these projects. So with that, thank you. If there are any other follow-up questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve Brenda's 2026 budget.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve the budget. I believe the actual approval is before us. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Did you, okay, any discussion? All right, we'll call the roll on this. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Erdmann.
Aye.
Commissioner Boatright.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Hannibal.
Aye.
Commissioner Slay.
Aye.
Commissioner Baker.
Aye.
Good work. We'll see you in January. Keep your
You'll
fingers crossed.
probably see me before that.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much, Brenda. Very good. Okay, we have completed the action items for this meeting. And we're now going to move into the consent agenda. Have we approved the consent agenda? Yeah, we approved the consent agenda. So we'll move into public comment. Members of the public who did not schedule a presentation before the commission may speak to the commission on transportation-related issues by having signed in at the registration desk by 9:30. Comments will be limited, as always, to 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per topic. Madam Secretary, do we have any who have signed in to testify? Thank you. Okay, after extraordinary effort, Arnie Dienhoff is here to testify. I understand he ran into a little transportation trouble en route. So we'll recognize Arnie for his 5 minutes today, and appreciate you making the effort to be here today.
Thank you very much for the indulgence, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie A.C. Dienhoff, State Public Advocate. And just a comment about the budget. MoDOT is a multi-billion-dollar state department. It's the third largest state department, and there still is need for great changes and a better way of doing business. One way that I want to talk about doing better business is intergovernmental affairs, which I'll get to in a moment. The state Senate was in session till this morning, about 2:34. Special session called to order by the governor by resolution. They considered Senate Bills 1, Senate Bill 3, and Senate Bill 4. Those will go to the House of Representatives next Monday to be considered on 2 stadium proposals in Jackson County or Clay County to compete with the state of Kansas to provide relief, income tax deductions, and other withholding of assessments or real estate taxes for people affected in Southwest, Southeast Missouri, and Northwest St. Louis City who have extraordinary emergency and loss of homes. People are camping out literally in their front yards. And $25 million is just not going to go a long way for 37 counties affected by the storms. Coming up here this morning, it really brings to light the need for safety of our roadways. In Wright City along I-70, a semi-tractor trailer ended up jackknifing and took up the predominantly the majority of the interstate. And thank heavens for that guardrail to stop it from coming into the lanes that I was traveling into westbound to get to this meeting. But it really homes in that we need to be cognizant of saving lives as the #1 priority. And that brings me to the point. In St. Charles County, with the city of O'Fallon and the city of Jordan Prairie. And it's teamwork and intergovernmental cooperation between entities. I guess I'm tired of politicians and elected officials throwing each other under the bus instead of addressing residents' concerns and saving lives. At the intersection of of Technology Drive and or Technology Boulevard and Weldon Spring Road, which is the service road for I-64, there have been 5 traffic accidents with severe life-changing injuries in the last couple months due to a construction project by the city of O'Fallon in phase 1 of the project. The detour is not working according to plans, and it's being detoured to Technology, which is the state route road. The city of O'Fallon asked MoDOT, who has trailers at their disposal and are sitting idly on lots in Chesterfield, to be used as temporary lights while the construction goes on and near a school zone of an elementary school, Weldon Elementary. And so, unfortunately, MoDOT said to the city of O'Fallon that we want you to spend $100,000 in designing, getting an engineer, contracting with Ameren to connect the wired light because the trailers weren't sufficient. So that leads to, it's going to take till August 15th to get that done. The city council authorized the funds, unfortunately, because there were no other alternatives in terms of saving lives and saving injuries. Last night was a special city council meeting, and I attended the meeting of the Jordan Prairie Board of Aldermen. They want to be part of the solution because guess what? July 15th, you've issued your contractor the notice to proceed, which means Technology Boulevard is going to be closing due to replacing the bridge for a third lane on I-64 and Technology Boulevard. And so the special city council now, there's a plan of $35,000, and I was going to read the memo, but I'm running out of time, so I have a few other issues that I want to address. But MoDOT has the assets. This is a school zone. School was over last Friday. The amount of traffic is going down. It's my understanding from talking to the district engineer that they're currently conducting a traffic count on a daily basis. The 5 accidents, severe injuries, we need to prohibit that, and we need to prevent that. The closure of Technology is coming up, and so you're going to push the issue to Jordan Prairie and to Barrett Haven Parkway. And so I would ask that MoDOT, since it's MoDOT roadway, that we put up the trailers at MoDOT's expense because you own the equipment, and therefore we need cooperation between intergovernmental issues. Just like the House of Representatives and the General Assembly, we need to build and restore the trust that is severely missing at the General Assembly. I also want to bring to your attention real quick, and I know I'm running out of time, a sound wall that needs to be erected at Knollwood Court. There was a meeting with the director with 2 state senators and other people of the St. Charles contingent. It's parallel with Missouri 364, and our county is willing to partner. Our county road board with our half-cent sales tax is willing to partner because these people, and I encourage some of you to go and experience it, all they hear is traffic going by. They don't have any sense of peace. And I think the director experienced some of that from the state senators' stories that were told. And so also on Missouri 94 and Hemsouth Roads, 63303, reinstalling an entrance, which was taken out by MoDOT for a reconstruction project about a year ago, just isn't working. And MoDOT, I believe, has realized that it's not working. It's a business commerce center, and we really need to put that concrete back into place to make sure that commerce is flowing and that we're generating economic development for our state. The final issue coming up here, and I have a whole list of maintenance issues, as you all know, but just coming up here, I have 2 pages full of MoDOT maintenance issues that hopefully I can meet with somebody in this district. I don't know exactly what district we're in, but they really need to be addressed. And they're things that really threw my car almost off the roadway. And what I'm not comprehending or understanding is we have people out in the field, we have supervisors and managers, and they're experiencing this. Why are we not being preventive and proactive? And why aren't they taking care of these situations? Because they drive over them several times a week. They see the issues. I don't come up here that often, and I see these issues. And so therefore, I think it's important that we need to address these issues to make, we're consumers and customers, and that's how you have to look at it. This is a team effort. If I am taking the time to give the information, and I give kudos to Eric Kapinski and Tom Blair. If I bring an issue to their attention or give it to them, they're going to make sure it gets on a list. But it's the time to get to that list to repair it before somebody gets hurt or somebody's going to have some cost to repair for their vehicle. That's what we need to be cognizant of and work towards. And so I asked to have that full cooperation. And one step would be is to meet with the city of O'Fallon and city of Jordan Prairie and solve this traffic light issue so they don't cost taxpayers $100,000 to $35,000, and that you have the equipment, you have the assets. Let's get them out on the street and let's get the project done. Let's not place blame. Let's cooperate together. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your testimony. Earlier in the day, we introduced the new regional engineer, district engineer for Northeast, Kevin James. Kevin, if you would go back, he would be the one to take up your local issues. And thank you for going through all the effort to be here today. I appreciate that you experienced some difficulty. With that, we will close the public comment period. Typically, at the end of each meeting, we provide each commission member with an opportunity to share the comments or concerns that they may have or observations from the meeting. I'm going to go in a little different order because I'm going to save Commissioner Smith for last, but today I'm going to start with Commissioner Baker. Any comments for the good of the order?
You're saving the best till last. Yes, just a quick summary comment today. There's so much going on, as we all know, and I'm reminded by some of the presenters today that it starts with dreaming. It starts with dreaming about what can be, and then there's planning, and then there's execution. And none of those typically are short-term segments, but they're all critically important. And so we're seeing the fruits of some of those earlier stages today, and then some still in those earliest stages of dreaming today. But MoDOT always has a plan and is executing on that plan every day. And I believe as of 8:45 this morning, there were 825 active work zones, MoDOT work zones across the state. And so that's the plan. But there's always the what if. What if there's something unexpected? And what will that be? We had a very dangerous winter with a tremendous amount of work on the MoDOT associates for clearing roads, maintaining them, trying to keep them passable and safe. It's been a tough spring. We were just alluding to some of that locally here just in the past few weeks. So those things come up. And MoDOT seems, and I'm very impressed by the fact that they have a laser-like focus on the plan, on executing in all stages of that delivery. But when they need to pivot, which can be any day, any moment, they can because they plan for it. And that is also critically important. So that balance, that yin and yang, it's there every day. And I just want to commend everyone on the MoDOT team that makes that happen, no matter what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baker. We'll go to Commissioner Slay.
Yes, well, it's really great to be here. And in Kirksville, I have never been to Kirksville before. I've been around it, but not here. But it's certainly great to be here. And I want to just thank all the local elected and civic leaders that have joined us here today for your insight, for your leadership, something that is extremely important to what we do. We have a tremendous team here in this area of the state and a tremendous team all over the state of Missouri. And it's important that we all work together as a team. The local leadership, of course, is extremely important to all the things that we're doing. Of course, the local leadership knows a lot more than any of us do, even those on the MoDOT team that work in this area, what some of the needs are and some of the challenges. And in order to take care of those, it's important that we have the input and the involvement of the leadership. So thank you all. And I certainly also want to just recognize, as you know, I've can't do enough of the talent and the leadership of the MoDOT team here locally and throughout the entire organization. Thank you all for your work. Thank you for your talent. Thank you for the execution and your dedication to the things that we're responsible for. Your leadership and the work that you do is so important to the local communities and the state in general. Many times it's overlooked or not necessarily appreciated by the general public because they take a lot of things for granted. And that's just the way government is. But I can tell you this organization, the group of individuals that are here at this table certainly appreciate the talent, the professionalism, and the dedication of the MoDOT team. So thank all of you for the work that you do.
Thank you, and Commissioner Hageman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too want to appreciate the MoDOT team that was able to show up here today and the regional folks up here taking care of this. Looks like a lot of great work's going on up here, a lot of engagement with our communities. Really appreciate Hannibal's presentation and Marion County wanting to step up again to help partner with MoDOT to improve our system throughout the whole state. I live over in St. Joe, and so I've got a daughter in St. Charles, Missouri, and my regular route is 36 to 61. So thank you. If you hadn't stepped up a few years ago to make 36 4-lane all the way to Hannibal, I'd probably drop down at Macon and go over on 70. So it was worthwhile, at least for this St. Joseph person. The old Hannibal St. Joe Railroad still is transportation corridor still in effect there. Just really appreciate. Also wanted to thank the legislative delegation and their representatives for being here and coming in and taking this in. We've worked with them great. Senator or Congressman Gray's office and Sarah Graff with them. Thank you for showing up and being with us. And Senator O'Loughlin's office representative was here too. She's kind of busy the past couple of days, so she wasn't able to make it with the special session going on. But I really always appreciate their showing up and taking interest for their constituents on transportation issues. That's evident by as much trust that they put into us the past few years of carrying through on some of the legislative designated projects. I'm glad that we're able to do that these past few years and look forward to continuing that relationship. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hageman. So Vice Chairman Boatright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess to summarize my takeaways from today, it's humbling to have folks that care and that want to see the state do better. And to end up with a group of people that can deliver, that can execute, that can get the work done, that people dream of, that people put their energy behind, and that we end up bearing the fruits of when we have the infrastructure on the ground is such a big deal. And I would just encourage everybody in the room to continue to talk about the infrastructure that we have in this state, to realize the importance of it and how much of an equalizer it is for every citizen that we have. It provides such opportunity, and it's just a real blessing that we have a MoDOT that can deliver, that we have people in the state that can dream big, and that we have leadership that will put that funding and the things that it takes to get to that point behind it. So with that, I'll yield my time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dustin. I want to make an explicit thank you to the leadership of Truman State University. They opened their facilities to us, and we are very grateful to be able to use their wonderful facilities. I want to thank representatives of this Northeast region from Kirksville, Mexico, Hannibal. I think everyone on the commission is impressed by what's going on up here, particularly with the notion that we could someday see a Hannibal Expressway. We could someday see a 54 corridor that runs all the way from Kansas City to Chicago. and that we might see improvements to US 61. Thanks to our friends from Kirksville, Mexico, and Hannibal for being here. We're very appreciative of that. Just a few moments ago, this commission took a giant leap of faith in approving a budget that we do not have complete authority to spend in the back half of the year. We have the money, we just don't have the authority to spend the back half of the year. And come January, this will become a very critical matter. I hope all who are listening to my words today will keep that in mind and be helpful to us, because we could hit a cliff if that supplemental authority isn't granted early in the year. But I hope everyone appreciates the fact that we are plowing forward and we're not slowing down anything, and we intend to deliver critical projects on time and on budget. With that, I want to echo some comments that the director made, that it was 12 years ago in this very place that a young, spry, and a little sassy car dealer from Clinton, Missouri was sworn in as commissioner. And today that same sassy car dealer holds the second longest term of service on the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. The parallel nature of being here today in the very place where that took place cannot go unnoticed. So I'm going to leave the closing remarks to the Dean of the Missouri Highway Commission, Greg Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, it is good to be back in Kirksville. I want to first thank Brenda for all the hard work and your team on the 2026 budget. Great job, and hopefully everything goes smooth. I think it will. And to Danica, $2.5 billion worth of work, 4.1% under budget. I mean, that's amazing. It hasn't been very long ago that I sat in this chair, not in Kirksville, and we were looking at a 365 or 325. So there and where we're at today, it's amazing, and it's because of all the people in this room and the hard work of the MoDOT staff, and we really appreciate that. Kevin, congratulations. I know you're going to lead this area with great pride and do a great job. I wish you well. You were fairly young when I come on this commission. It seems a little funny to come to Kirksville and up in this area and not see Harriet Beard sitting out here in this crowd. She was so compassionate about transportation. Such a sweet lady she was. And as you said, Highway 61, I think of the two Toms, Oakley and my good friend Tom Boland, another car dealer, just like the governor and I. We're all good guys. But anyway, this is my 144th MoDOT Commission meeting, and my first one was right here in Kirksville, and my 141st one right here. So I've enjoyed every minute of it, and thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for the nice comments, Mr. Chairman, Director. With that, I'll yield back.
Well, thank you for your service. It's been incredible, but it's not over. So with that, before we adjourn, let me note that our next meeting is scheduled for July 9th, and we will be in Columbia. Look forward to those of you who can join us then, including the Dean of the Commission and others. And with that, do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
And seconded. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. We stand adjourned.